Mr. L live and that boy leveled. Boy leveled. Boy leveled. Mr. L live and that boy leveled. Boy leveled. Boy leveled. Mr. L live. Mr. L live and that Mr. L live and that boy leveled. Boy leveled. Boy leveled. Boy leveled. Mr. L live and that boy leveled. Boy leveled. Boy leveled.
What it do, people? It's your boy Leveled Head back with my partner,
Mr. Live 08.
and this is the Live and Leveled Gamers Podcast. We've been on about a week and a half, 2-week hiatus, and we back to do it big like we always do. We got our special guest for this week, the one and only Triforce Johnson. What's up, partner?
Hey man, what's going on? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem, man. We really appreciate you coming on our show and gracing us with your presence. But what we look to do in this show is we're going to be asking Mr. Johnson a lot of questions and his thoughts on Nintendo and the current situation that's going on with the sales and the state and the current affairs of Nintendo. And we're just going to be letting him enlighten us with his thoughts and his opinions. So without further ado, Live, you got anything you want to throw in there, man?
Man, pretty much. I'm ready to get this podcast on the way. I'm glad Triforce stopped through. And this is the Live and Level Head Podcast with our special guest, Mr. Triforce.
So, here's the first thing, man, because you said let's just throw on it out. EA, some guy at EA made a statement about Miyamoto and how he has fallen down on the job when it comes to innovation. A guy by the name of Richard Hillman. I think that's how you say his name. So, we want to let you give your thoughts and your opinion on this guy and his comment. There you go. Take away.
Okay, and by no means am I a professional to tell any of these guys, how to do their job. But let's look at this from a perspective in which is fair to the situation. I didn't know Miyamoto worked for EA, where the criticism could come from this gentleman, who would then tell Miyamoto that he's falling down on a job or slacking or whatever is it that he was implying. Because as far as I'm concerned, every game Miyamoto has made for Nintendo has not only pleased the fans of Nintendo, but has made its mark in terms of sales, for business. Now, on the Nintendo platform, EA doesn't do well. So if anyone's falling down on a job, it's him. For me, when I look at comments like that, it shows a level of I don't want to say he's unprofessional, but it definitely shows a level of being unaccountable for what EA's responsible for, and that is to make games for video game systems. One of them is being Nintendo, and being able to sell those games, and reach the demographic that they're supposed to reach on their system. And clearly they're not doing that. So until he can get that done, I don't understand how can he point fingers at somebody else when they're getting their job done. That doesn't even make any sense. So why are you talking about Miyamoto falling down on the job when you're not doing your job? But Miyamoto's doing his job. If Miyamoto wasn't doing his job, I think Nintendo would let Miyamoto know that. So I think that was completely out of place for him to say that. I don't know the gentleman, never worked with the gentleman before, never worked with EA. I'm just giving my constructive opinion about it. You shouldn't speak on something that you have no business speaking on. He doesn't work for you.
Right.
So if he doesn't work for you, I don't understand why is that even being mentioned. But
Well, and I don't want to just jump in here, Live. You got anything you want to say, man? Feel free to go ahead and state your thoughts, and I'll come in behind you. I had something I wanted to say, but go ahead if you got something you want to say.
I just felt like the whole thing was being disrespectful. I mean, we're talking about Miyamoto. We're talking about the god of video gaming. You know, you just don't say dumb stuff, like that. You just don't do that. You show your respect. It's just like I said with these third parties. If it wasn't for Nintendo, where would you be at?
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Where would you? To even have said that to someone who, the guy that established, let's not say established, because Yamauchi, God rest his soul, established the company, but the guy one of the founding developers, a pioneer, for creating video games. This guy pretty much brought Mario and Donkey Kong to an industry that was dying in this country, put everything back in order, and tip the scales to keep this industry alive for EA to even be making games for any systems today. And then you would dare bring that up and say he's slipping based on, and I understand it's his opinion, so he can voice his opinion all he wants, but I think it's premature. I think it's really premature that he even said that. Yeah, like I don't think he really meant to say that. I think he meant to say something else, and that just came out, and he doesn't want to look like he's one of those people who say A and then, he can't man up to what he said and then change his words. So he's gonna stick to what he had already said, which, like I said, I think that's irresponsible. I don't think he's being accountable for his own inequity, because Miyamoto is not in question here. Nintendo has no complaints. Right now, Nintendo's gearing up for the Christmas season, and the very same Miyamoto's falling off the job. I bet you those sales reports won't say that this Christmas. So, right. But I guarantee you that when it comes to making good games for the Nintendo console from EA, that's not going to happen this Christmas. It's going to be Nintendo bailing Nintendo out as usual.
And that leads me to a question that you kind of dealt with last night when we talked, man. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious and it's very apparent that there is a bias in this gaming industry towards Nintendo. Now, I asked Hip Hop Gamer this same question, and he actually admitted that there is a bias. There's a bias with developers, and he wouldn't admit that there's a bias with journalism, but there is a bias with the developers, and there's a bias just in general towards Nintendo. Now, my question to you would be, when you hear statements like this from EA, and then it ain't just EA, you got other folks making these same claims, and easily throws Nintendo under the dirt. You got people like Epic who laughs when they talk about bringing the Unreal 4 engine to the Wii U, and it's a joke, and it's just a lot of mockery, and what I'm saying.
First of
all, what's your thoughts on that?
First of all, it's immature. But what can you expect from these guys? These guys are one-hit wonders. When was the last time Epic did anything? So outside of their Gears of War, and then that was pretty much it.
Right.
And number two, of course, I just find it funny that it's no secret that it's a bias. This is the sad part that I like to put out there. Everybody makes fun of Nintendo. Now, this is a small company when you're comparing them to the other two billion-dollar giants. One is a consumer electronic giant. They're not even number one in their own field. And the other one is Bill Big Daddy Pockets Gates. You have these two companies, not saying they're trying to, but Nintendo has created a business model in which has allowed them to sustain themselves in an industry against two corporate giants. I could give you an entire day and you wouldn't be able to find another company on the planet that is able to go into, or whether they're born into that industry or not, survive against billion-dollar titans and they're not one themselves. There are no other companies out there that does that. None. Nintendo, which is what they laugh at and call a children's company, this children's company slapped them up in the last generation, sold over 100 million units, right? They're going to give excuses like, oh, well, that's because they lowered their price. Okay, they're supposed to lower their prices. That's a sale tactic. In fact, that's one of the oldest sale tactics there are. Is that the best defense you can get because they're doing what they're supposed to do? That's why you don't like think about that. Oh, well, they're winning. They only win because they drop the price to sell more systems. Oh, so you prefer them not to do that and lose. That's like Jordan's only beating me because he's making his jumpers. Oh, so Jordan shouldn't shoot then. He should just, hold on to the ball, run around dribbling and not score. That makes sense. So when they say these little stupid things, what it is to make up for their own inequity. They're not able to do their job right now. And that's why they can talk all of this crap and blah, blah, blah. Right now they got Rockstar slapping them all up, and I guess they're going to all have to sit there and wait for the next Call of Duty to come out, and I guess the next Call of Duty is going to be about this the war on Syria, I guess, because none of these things are original. They just copy and paste some war that they saw in a movie, and they just try to make it as realistic as possible. People buy it again, and you get the care package and yada yada. Now that is unoriginal, completely unoriginal. Stories unoriginal. Guns are unoriginal. The military, everything in the game is unoriginal. Miyamoto makes a game where he has to continuously change the world that Mario is in, which then changes the dynamics of how Mario is being played. And the guy is not only doing this for just Mario, but he's also overseeing projects for Zelda, overseeing projects for Donkey Kong and whatnot. So this guy is like, he's helping to innovate and spearhead 2 or 3 games for one company, and they all have to sell, which they all do. And then this guy, what game does he make? How many projects does he spearhead? Where's the innovation from him? But he wants to question the god himself. This guy's a joke. The industry's a joke on top of it, because this is the same little company that they can't beat up. This little kids company is selling 100 million units. Oh, well, the Wii U has failed in its launch. This is the worst launch it's ever had. I'm like, well, yeah, last year, Nintendo launched. The number 1 selling game for the Wii U was Nintendo Land and New Super Mario Bros. Wii U. As usual, the third parties failed Nintendo, and Nintendo turned to Mario to save them. That's what Nintendo does. This Christmas season, okay, let's try. Triforce is going to be a profit. This is exactly what's going to happen this Christmas season. Third party is going to make a bunch of crappy games for Nintendo, as they always do. This is their MO. They're going to lose money. They're going to complain that Nintendo system is hard to make up. They'll make whatever excuse they want to make up. I guess Miyamoto. I guess Nintendo is going to, the new thing to blame Nintendo is, since you can't blame their system and you can't blame the sales of the games, just say Miyamoto sucks or he's losing his touch in games. I guess that'll distract everyone from the fact that their games are going to suck and their games are not going to sell on the Nintendo Wii. So Nintendo is going to say, well, guys, we're in on this, yet another Christmas where we're on our own. So what are we going to do, Nintendo? Let's drop Mario Kart. That'll sell. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. That'll sell. Another Super Mario games. That will sell. And then we'll try to, after those sell in the Christmas, we're going to go into another dry spell in 2014, much like what we did in 2013 around the winter, springtime. Oh, no, don't worry about that. We'll just drop Smash Brothers and they'll just kill everybody. Oh, okay. So Nintendo has their plan for them. So units will sell. They're gonna sell. They got the Wind Waker HD unit coming out. They got the Wind Waker game dropping if you don't want to buy the system. They got the Mario Kart. They got the Tropical Freeze. They got a ton of Nintendo games coming out. The 101, a Wonderful 101, and so forth. And they're supporting cast. Plus, when they drop a Sonic game, Nintendo will be all right. On the handheld end, Nintendo can always rely on their handhelds to bring in that extra money. I'm actually, this is just a tangent. Like, Nintendo is good. The people don't talk about how good they are. The industry only wants to talk about how bad they're doing. When they sold 100 million units for the Wii, when the Wii came out after the Xbox 360 and launched at the same time as the PS3, but it sold 100 million units. Did any journalists post this?
Nah.
Nope.
None.
Nope.
Guess where people found out Nintendo sold 100 million units? Guinness Book of World Records. What? Why are people going to Guinness Book to find out how much systems Nintendo sold? That's crazy. Why is that being published there? Why didn't the industry post that? What happened? What's going on? Why isn't the industry posting that? Now, let me bring up something I'll show you the hypocrisy of the journalism and the industry and gaming as a whole. There was a rule that was established by the industry and the journalists themselves. When Nintendo was ruling everyone with the iron fist with the NES and the Super Nintendo, there's like, yeah, Nintendo's running everyone, everyone's getting a Super Nintendo, yada, yada, yada. Sony came out. Sony was like, Nintendo, we want your Mario and Zelda. Nintendo looked at them and was like, you've lost your mind. Then they went on their own. They did their own thing with the PlayStation. And when that happened, Nintendo lost the market because Sony conquered the home install base. They got more systems in a home than Nintendo. So the industry and the journalists backed them up. EGM, GamePro, Gamer Republic, all of them. They all backed it up. Nintendo has fallen from the throne because the upstart new company Sony has come in with a system that not only plays your DVDs, it's a cool looking system. It plays your music, it plays your video games, it turns on your car, it flushes your toilet, it makes your breakfast for you, all of this other stuff. And now they got the user install base. Third party companies need to stop making games for Nintendo and Sega because it makes no sense to make games for a system that less people have. So third parties should be making games for the system that's in more people's houses, because logically speaking, the more systems you have in your house, the more likely someone is able to buy your game. So they made these games for the PlayStation to justify all of this. So it was all great. Everyone was set. Everyone's happy. Nintendo couldn't deny the fact that they're no longer the home install base king. And Nintendo said, okay, no problem. They suffered that for the 64 and they suffered that for the GameCube. And for 2 generations, Nintendo was off the throne. Sega and Sony was doing their thing. Nintendo was number 2. Not a problem. So, that's the rules. That's the platform. Everything's good, right? All right, cool. So the Wii comes out. The Wii, Nintendo jumps right back on the throne. Boom, 100 million. First time Nintendo ever sold 100 million units. Console, home base-wise, not handheld. Ever. No news. Third-party people don't make games for it. But wait a minute. Third party, you just said it only makes sense to make games for the person that's the king of the home install base. So why aren't you making games for Nintendo? Well, Nintendo is, the thing is, but this is your rule. Nintendo didn't make that rule. You did. Journalists, why aren't you writing this? Why aren't you showing the hypocrisy of the industry and how they're being biased? They're not following their own rule. What happened? What does Nintendo have to do to win again? You said conquer the install base. They made an innovative system that brought motion sensing technology, which that's not new to Nintendo. They did that like back in 1990 with the Power Glove. They were just ahead of their own time. In fact, Nintendo's ahead of their time for everything that they do. 90% of the stuff that Nintendo comes out with are all old school concepts they did back in the 80s and the 90s that failed. So like they're like now doing it now, and it just so happens to work because technology is better. I can go through the list of stuff. We'll do that in a minute though. So Nintendo's like, we got the home install base. Why aren't you guys making games for us? Why when you make a new Madden game, we got Madden Wii Play? Madden Wii Play? What is this? Oh, wait a minute. What company does Madden again? Oh, EA. The same guy that's talking trash about Miyamoto makes some whack version of Madden on the Wii? Are you kidding me? Like, are you talking? Why aren't you fired? Like, get out. You don't deserve your job. So it's just a lot of hypocrisy. The industry knows they're biased against Nintendo. Nintendo knows they know, and they know Nintendo knows. And Nintendo's like, it's all good. Because at the end of the day, you guys are not going to beat us. Because we've stood the test of time. We have a model that works in recessions, world wars, whatever it is. Nintendo will sell. Jesus Christ could be coming to the end of the world. Nintendo is still going to sell through it. That's because that's the way their model works. Now, funny thing I show you guys, a lot of people don't even see this coming. They say Nintendo can't sell mature games. I can't grasp that concept because on the NES and the Super Nintendo, there was a lot of mature games being sold on Nintendo. Nintendo just didn't they didn't advocate for grotesque violence. Nintendo had violent games, but it's the gore that they didn't want to simulate real life violence. They wanted to emulate just violence. So Contra, you shoot people, but there's a difference between shooting people in Contra and shooting people in Gears of War. You see the difference?
Yeah.
When you blow off a person's head in Gears of War, you can look on the floor and the graphics are so detailed you can see their brain. You see a chunk of their brain. Contra, you shoot someone, they just explode. That's it. And that's it. So Nintendo never had a problem with those type of graphics as long as they were within reason. And they wanted people to understand that this, at the same time, this is still a game. They don't want people to try to now emulate this to what's going on in real life. The purpose of you playing the game is to get away from real life. Now we're playing games to simulate real life.
Right.
And that is why the industry is the way it is. That's why fads come and go, but Nintendo always stands the test of time because Nintendo's the only one making games. Grand Theft Auto isn't a game. Call of Duty isn't a game. Any sports game isn't a game, especially sports, because I don't know why you're even playing sports on a video game. Like, you should be outside playing sports. But for those who don't have the time and are unable to physically do it, we're going to cover it with that broad statement. I guess you can have your sports game. In terms of like video games, if you want to talk about video games on a Sony system, whatever happened to Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Klonoa, Jak and Daxter, Mark of Cree, God of War? Those are actual games. Those are actual games. I'm sorry, but Gran Turismo is not a game. You can go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and take a test with Gran Turismo and get your license. That's a simulation. This is not a video game.
Right.
Neither is the war games. Neither are the sports games. So when these guys, like this guy from EA, he makes a statement about new trends have to be made, this does not apply to Nintendo. New trends have to be made by them because they don't make games. They make gimmicks, trendy gimmicks that sell. So later, when the trend dies, they have to come up with a new one or they're out of business. Remember when Tomb Raider first came out? And everyone was like, oh, Lara Croft, blah, blah, blah. And they tried to sell the game. Tomb Raider was a modern day Legend of Zelda Indiana Jones. But the gimmick was to put a girl who was very robust in certain areas to use sex to sell the game. After 2 or 3 of the games, no one cared. The trend died. They're trying to remake Lara Croft now in the new version and make her realistic and as close to an actual woman running around in the jungle in Daisy Dukes. It's not working. It stopped working since Tomb Raider 2. Don't you get it? Let her die. find another trend.
Let me ask you this, man. I'm glad you brought that up about gimmick. Now, you know, a lot of folks will love to say that Nintendo is gimmick, the Wii remote was gimmick, the gamepad is gimmick. It was something you said when we was talking last night.
Time out.
I want you to bring that up with like what you said on that.
How can if Nintendo is creating gimmicks, which is worse? The person creating the gimmicks or the people who copied the people who make the gimmicks?
I'm listening, bro. Go do your thing, man.
See how stupid that is? Oh, Nintendo makes a bunch. I was there at the Nintendo Wii launch. Destructoid and a couple of people interviewed me when I was there at the Wii launch. And one guy from Destructoid came up to me and says, Triforce, what do you think about Nintendo selling gimmicks and yada 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 this whatever? And I was standing next to Reggie, and I guess Reggie wanted to answer because I think at the time, because he knew me before we met once at the Nintendo World in 2005, so this was a year before the Wii, and I guess he thought there was no way I was going to answer that. And I was like, I got this. I'm like, I'm a seasoned gamer. I've been here long enough for this nonsense. So I'm like, it's funny how you guys laugh at Nintendo, but you're gonna, these same people who are making these jokes are going to copy Nintendo. And they're not, the sad part is they're not going to do it in a subtle manner. They're just going to copy Nintendo directly, outright. And the worst part is the journalists are the worst. They don't even call them out when they do it.
I'm glad you said that, man.
The journalists will watch them laugh at Nintendo in December, then copy them in May. And then the journalists will post, wow, Sony did some amazing new stuff. Like, what? Like when the Kaz Harai made a joke like Nintendo going away from traditional gaming with this gimmicky motion censored blah blah. Remember when he said that? He actually said that directly. And then they made the PlayStation move. Not one single reporter called him out on what he said. Like, you do know he just dissed Nintendo. And the sad part was, not only did they copy the technology, but the execution and the design of the entire move looked like the Wii remote. All they did was put a clown nose on top of a Wii remote. That was the difference. They put a clown nose on the top of their remote.
Can I jump in here?
Sure you can.
Man, you said something the other day. I want you to kind of break down what a gimmick is, and you kind of used the CD and the DVD and the Blu-ray, and you explained that that's true gimmick and not what Nintendo is doing. Kind of break that down.
Oh, those are gimmicks. Like the fact that Sony said they needed new mediums to make games on is the greatest nonsense and trash ever created, which the entire public bought because they're impressionable. So you can tell the public anything and they'll believe it. So these guys are professionals at it and whatnot. They said with a game like Resident Evil 2, you cannot make a game like that via cartridge. Nintendo said, really? You can't? It's impossible, right? You can't do it. Nope. There's not enough data, blah, blah, blah. So Nintendo made Resident Evil 2 for the Nintendo 64. And it was a 95% duplicate of the game. And it sold well. Sold extremely well. Capcom was happy. Capcom was like, whoa, I did not know this game was going to sell like this. Capcom was so happy that they eventually made every Resident Evil for a Nintendo system. And they all sold well. And the reason why they sold well is because there's a demographic on Nintendo that wants to play mature games. And only a fool would license themselves to make games exclusively for one system. Now, going back to the whole, I didn't want to go off in a tangent, but I just wanted to make that statement in regards to the whole thing. Now, why did these guys use the CD medium? Well, what people are not understanding is that Sony is not a video game company. They're a consumer electronic giant. And the sad part is, for guys who like trying to beat up on a kids company, so to speak, because, you know, they named Nintendo a kids company. And I'm like, they are? I'm like, I always thought there was a family company. That's why the first system was called a Famicom, means family computer, but whatever. You know, they want to beat up on a kids company, but they get beat up in their own scene. Panasonic's been bodying Sony for, who knows, the last 500 years since Jesus walked the earth. And they cannot beat them for whatever the reason is. I'm like, they're beating them in the movie scene, but Panasonic's not in the movie industry. But when you look at direct consumer electronics, they're getting slaughtered. They get beat up. And they needed a way to get people to buy their medium, which is the CD. So they made a CD-based system. So it forces you to turn to their medium rather than using the cartridge medium in which Nintendo owned. It's a smart business move. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they deceived anyone. In business, that's good. But the reality is, it's a gimmick. Because the stuff that to justify why they went to CD is not true. It's false. It's a gimmick that they use. They can't tell the truth. They have to create a gimmick. Nintendo doesn't make gimmicks. They just make games. That's it. They don't. A gimmick is something that you go, if I don't do this, I can't sell. Nintendo sells. And everyone says, oh, but they regurgitate the same stuff. You can't regurgitate a gimmick. Because once the gimmick is exposed, the gimmick is over.
Right.
So how can Nintendo keep regurgitating the same gimmick? It means it's not a gimmick.
Exactly.
Live, you got something to say on that, man? I hear you trying. Go ahead, bro.
I'm just listening. Hey,
I told you, man. I told you.
Hey, I'm just listening to the knowledge that he's dropping. These people better wake up and smell the doggone coffee, man. I'm telling you.
The thing
man,
is,
Triforce is dropping knowledge on you, cats.
The problem here is this. A lot of the Nintendo fans grew up and they turned away from Nintendo. And this is why they don't defend Nintendo. Me, I play all video games. My preferred system is Nintendo for a lot of reasons. Nostalgia, memories, Nintendo helped shape me as the gamer that I am today to the games that I play now. But don't get me wrong, I play the other systems. I have all the systems. I play all the other games and stuff like that. And I'm telling you right now, the greatest era was the Super Nintendo and Genesis, because God knows this era is completely horrible. Like, the games suck today. But I'm not going to get into that. But the reality is that these guys have to sell everything from things that open your toaster to things that spy on you in your sleep and report back to NASA for terrorism, starts your car, pays your bank account. Those are gimmicks. The only, if I were to say Nintendo had a gimmick, the only gimmick Nintendo ever did was recently with the Wii U. Putting in the Netflix and the YouTube and the cable TV and all that other stuff, that's a gimmick. But when you look at what Nintendo did with the Wii U, they're just now following what the PS3 and the Xbox 360 was going after. And then now all three systems are now doing the same thing now. All three systems have the same thing. Something that you can put in your living room and it controls everything for whatever, yada, yada, yada. But this is the thing that I like about Nintendo's particular gimmick. Nintendo's particular gimmick actually solves an age-old problem for the family. Because Nintendo's thinking about the family. They're not thinking about the individual demographic that they're targeting. Nintendo does not target a demographic. Nintendo aims for gamers, which means everyone on the planet, from the time you're born to the time you die. Microsoft and Sony, they have an age range they go after. What is it, 18 to 34? That's what they aim for. Nintendo's aiming from when you come out. If you can hold the controller, they're going to put it in your hand. Till the time when you're on your resting bed and you're about to die and you're like, you got to go. That's what they're aiming for. So they don't have a target. They're aiming for people because people are gamers. They just don't know it yet. When you play a Nintendo game, then you'll be like, you know something? I am a gamer.
Right. So let's transition live. I don't know if you got something you want to say. I'm gonna transition to another thing and let them, go on this, break it down how you feel, but you got something you want to jump in on?
Hey man, just let Triforce do his thing, man.
Okay. Well, staying in the same vein, I sent you the debate between me, myself, and Hip Hop Gamer. And Hip Hop Gamer said a lot of things in that. I showed you the video that kind of sparked the debate, and then I showed you the debate. Now, in the video, he talked about Reggie. He talked about Mario. He talked about, how Nintendo can't keep depending on Mario. And some of this you already dealt with, but from the little bit that you heard in that debate between me, myself, and Hip Hop Gamer, which it ain't no love lost. Hip Hop Gamer's a cool dude with me and live and everything, so it ain't nothing disrespectful. It's just, having a different perspective, a person in of your caliber that has access to, gaming, information that you have. What was your thoughts with that debate and some of the things that Hip Hop Gamer brought up? I want you to just go there for a second.
Well, one of the things he said that Nintendo depends on Mario. Some of these things are they don't. Hip Hop Gamer is cool. No love will be lost between me and him. Actually, when it comes to business, he's a very smart individual, and I like what he's trying to do with himself. Because there's certain things I know about him, and I just like the fact that he's making some moves for himself. But that's like saying you're in a Grand Slam situation in the Yankees. A-Rod, you can bring him up to the plate, and you go, no, I don't want to bring A-Rod up to the plate. Huh? What are we doing? That's like Bulls down by 2. They need 3 to win for the NBA championship. Game 7. Jordan, sit. Huh? What? You need to sit like that. People say we have to rely on you. The object is to win. So if Nintendo has to rely on Mario, why is that a point? Okay, since they want to bring that up, Nintendo has to rely on Mario. I think Sony and I know Sony and Microsoft have to rely on third party. If I had $1 trillion and I went to every third party company in the entire video game industry and said, I will pay you 1 year service, each of you companies would get $1 billion to sit out the entire year. Do not make any games for anybody. Let the 3 companies fight it out first party. Microsoft closes their video game department and Sony goes home. And that is not an opinion, that is a fact. Mario will be like, oh, where's your boys at? Oh yeah, here we go now. Here we go. And that's it, because they're now dolo. They gotta jump Nintendo. And the sad part is, all the jumping that they do, they still can't beat up well, actually, Mario's kind of fit these days. He's not as pudgy as he used to be. But they can't beat up an Italian plumber and his brother. They still run the block. So I don't understand what these guys are talking about. Like, when now Sonic is a permanent intellectual property for Nintendo. If Nintendo says, we need $1 billion game. Hey, you know what we should do? Let's make a game as expansive and big as Grand Theft Auto. But what we're going to do is we're going to make it the world of Mobius and the Mushroom Kingdom mashed together, where Koopa and Robotnik join forces and they're trying to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, and Mobius and Sonic and Mario plays as a 2-player adventure game simultaneous. Do you know that's the next $1 billion game?
Right. Wow.
Easy. People will
hold up.
People will pre-order the concept. They will even pre-order the game. If Nintendo just said, let's see if Triforce is telling the truth. Tweet it, Nintendo. I dare you. Tweet it and watch what happens. Nintendo tweets that's 1 million retweets. Easy. Just the concept. Don't say you're going to make the game. It's like, we're not giving any promises. We're just going to say, what do you Nintendo fans think of us making a Sonic and Mario full adventure game as big as Grand Theft Auto? And watch the fans go, oh, I'm copying Wii.
Man, that's dropping bombs, man. You can't do that.
If they so chose to. if they so chose. You want your innovation, EA? That's all Miyamoto has to say. Oh, give me that project. We'll do that. And then you can do it. Oh, and then you want to see some real innovation? It's a 2-player game simultaneously. And if you're Mario, you can choose to play on the big screen, and if you're Sonic, you can choose to play on the gamepad. So Mario's inability to move as fast as Sonic won't interrupt or hinder Sonic to be able to go through the same level that they're on, the same 3D world in full speed. So while Mario's playing on a big TV screen, you will see Sonic in the background passing through the main TV screen because the second player is on the gamepad playing his full adventure in the same world with Mario at the same time. So you're using a combination of Mario's platforming ability to get things done where he uses his items to get to certain areas that Sonic can't, but Sonic can do things in a timely manner where he utilizes his speed. And then you have two bad guys to fight. In the end, you fight, guess what you fight? You fight mechanized King Koopa.
That's kind of clever, man. I ain't even gonna sit here in front. I'll sit here and listen to you. That's kind of dope, man. That's kind of dope.
Dropping bombs, man.
You know what's so funny? This is the truth about that. That is not a game. That is not an innovative game. This is a game every single gamer that was born in the second generation, back in the 80s and the 90s, we've all been waiting for this game. Newgrounds made a video called Super Mario Brothers Z. How many times have people said, "Oh, if Nintendo only made a game like that"?
Now tell us some of the people who don't know about that, because I'm one of those. Explain that. I ain't never seen it.
They took the concept of Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
And the lore in the world, and they replaced the characters with Super Mario Brothers and Sonic. Mario is supposed to play as Goku, and Sonic plays as Vegeta. Mario, when he turns Super Saiyan, he has the Starman power, so he's invincible. And when Sonic turns Super Saiyan, he turns into Ghost Sonic. And then you have the cast of Piccolo, who's like Luigi and the rest of the guys, right?
Okay.
And it's both worlds combined. And King Koopa and Robotnik join forces. And, man,
I'm going to have to look that up, man.
Look that up. You know what I'm surprised at? That no one has kickstarted this guy to finish the entire series, because he stopped.
Okay.
Like, if you watch it from beginning to end, you get addicted. Yeah, and then you get to a point where the last episode I saw was when Sonic turned into Fire Sonic. I'm like, it was ridiculous. I was like, if the day Nintendo makes this game, they have their new $1 billion game. And when I heard that Sega said Sonic is now only exclusive to the Nintendo platforms, I was like, one step closer. Because remember, when you look at the artwork of Sonic, they transformed Sonic over the years that we haven't even realized. Sonic looks like he comes from a Mario game.
Yeah, he
does.
That
is true. I give you that.
Completely blends into the Mario game. People who are born in the last 5 years or the last 10 years, if you told them, if you didn't say anything to them, if you didn't say anything about Sega made Sonic, they would think Sonic was a Nintendo made character.
Right.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know the difference. They were just like, oh, wow. So now that Sonic and his entire world has already blended into the Nintendo world, they need to just get to this game.
Well,
I'll be over the concept tomorrow.
Well, I kind of already see them going that route, because one of the developers over at Sega said that their market and their audience is on the Nintendo platform. So it's like, he said Sonic always going to be on Nintendo, and maybe on the other platforms, but they always make money, and they always recuperate a gain every time they release Sonic or anything dealing with Sonic on the Nintendo system.
Every time Sega makes a game and they put out on the other systems and they lose money, they need to make Sonic to save them. And then when they make Sonic and they port it to the other systems, it's the Sonic on Nintendo system that saves them, not the ones that's ported. So as a businessman, I'm going to be like, why are we spending money to port these games over to another system that's not going to make us the money? Keep it exclusive to Nintendo. That'll help up the sales, get our money back.
Right.
That just makes sense.
So let's keep going. Cause there's another thing you with the debate, and it was dealing with the iToy and the origin.
All
And
right.
you kind of informed me, you kind of enlightened me on the real with that. So break that down.
Oh man. One moment. Okay, sorry. I saw something that bothered me. I apologize.
That's all right.
All right, now let's talk about guys. Let's talk about innovation. When it comes to technology or concepts that help enhance the experience of the way we play games individually or together, and the internet does not count. No one, Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony cannot take credit for online gaming. And if they do, if anyone can take credit for online gaming, I'm going to give it to Nintendo, because back then Nintendo and Sega had X-Band when you played video games over a dial-up modem, which was terrible, but at least they did it before everyone else. Now, going back to what we was talking about, there is absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, made by any other company, gaming company, first party, hardware, that they've innovated. These are concepts all taken from Nintendo. Every last one of them. Handheld systems. This started in the 80s with the Game & Watch. No other handheld comes out makes a difference. Everyone's, oh, Nintendo made something with the Nintendo DS, the dual screen. I did think people forgot about the Game & Watch MS. Does anyone know what the MS even stands for in the Game & Watch?
No.
I would say multiple screens, probably.
That's exactly what it means. It means multi-screen. Back then, I have a Zelda Game & Watch where you open it just like you open a DS. 2 screens, one on the top, one on the bottom. So the DS is not original. We're playing a 1980 concept all over again with better technology. The Wii Remote, motion sensor, that's the Power Glove. The Kinect, U-Force. Oh, I love when people try to bring that one up. Oh, the Kinect is the first. No, you ever play the U-Force on the Nintendo? Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And see, I'm from the old school, so when I see these new things, I laugh, because I'm like, yo, they took that from the old days. Blah blah blah. Oh, you know the headsets that blah blah. The headsets. Anyone ever played this thing was made by Konami. Crap. It was a headset. I forgot the name of it. It's a headset you put on, is an eyepiece to it, and has a voice activation. And you could play Top Gun and Afterburner on it. And you like, fire, fire. You just put the reticle in between the game and you like, fire, fire. That's where all these headsets came in. And you can hear the game and everything. Right? Mm-hmm. Multi-port controllers. NES Advantage. Light guns. Zapper. Okay. Someone says the iToy first brought in camera. Listen. Game Boy camera. You people need to behave yourselves. Like, so when he said that, I was laughing. The Game Boy camera came out on September 17th, 1998. I was like, iToy came out after. Are you kidding me? Stop. People, behave yourselves. What you are. This is crazy. And okay, what else? Multiple colors for your controllers. That was the sad part. When Nintendo did that with the 64, and then Sony said, oh, we're going to make new colors for our controllers, I was like, have you guys no shame? Like, stop. Like, you know this is direct. People see this. But in all fairness, from business, if it works, it works, man. Sometimes you just got to swallow your shame and just say, listen, man, this is making us money. And you just do it. Multiple colored systems. Nintendo started coming out with the Rainbow Edition 64, then all of a sudden I saw the version of the PlayStation. Mach 1s and Mach 2 systems. Remember, you had the PlayStation and then you had the PlayStation X.
Right.
Or what the PlayStation 1. And everyone's like, wow. I was like, have you guys ever played the NES Mach 2? The top-down loading system for the NES. I have, still wrapped in a box and everything. So I'm like, none of these concepts, nothing they make, nothing, and I mean nothing they make, is original. Someone said the Nintendo Pro Classic controller for the Nintendo Wii is a rip-off of the Microsoft controller. When someone told me that, I was like, you people have lost your mind. The entire concept of any of these systems controllers, from Sony to Microsoft and anyone in between, all come from the merging of the Genesis and Super Nintendo controller put together.
Wow.
You don't believe me?
I believe.
Take the Genesis Black Original, not the 6-button, the Black Original boomerang looking controller, and put the Super Nintendo controller on top of it in the middle. What does it look like? Exactly. But they're gonna sit there and say Nintendo's biting. You guys are stealing everything. It's like they're trying to wash out what the legacy Nintendo made. When they say Nintendo pioneered gaming, it's not an exaggeration. The company a couple days ago just passed its 124th birthday. Nintendo's 124 years old. You can't wipe out a century and a quarter. That's impossible. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Are you crazy?
Tell them again.
You can't wipe that out. You will never kill Mario's legacy. Mario's invincible. He's the god of gaming. Like, they can make it all they want. Oh, you're exaggerating, blah, blah, blah. All the success Grand Theft Auto has, that game still has a potential to die in 5 years from now.
Right.
It still has the potential to die 5 years from now.
And it's already getting stale. They need to be honest about it. It ain't as impressive as it used to be.
It's what they call a phenomenon.
Right.
It came out, boom, 800 million, almost $1 billion. It'll do great. Next 2-3 years, it'll hold out. Then, done.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me do this. Live, you got something you wanted to say?
Man, I'm still my jaw is still dropped on the floor with that Sonic and Mario. I'm still trying to get over that.
Nintendo needs to hurry up with that, because I need to play these games. These third-party companies are making the trash, and I would like to play that. And then it'd be great that you could independently download your characters to your Nintendo 3DS and take them on solo adventures, like how they did with Sonic 2 on the Genesis, on the Dreamcast, where you have the Troy adventures on your VMUs. So Mario and Sonic can go on independent adventures on your 3DS and stuff like that, and get power-ups and stuff like that, so that you can upload it back to your main game. I should work for Nintendo. I really should.
Triforce. I'm glad you said that. Because I'm tired of these Sony drones talking about the Vita and the PS4.
Oh, you mean they took that concept from the Nintendo 64, when you were able to download Pokemon on your Hachitami thing that you used to walk around and get, it was a thing with for what was the game? Pokemon Coliseum.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's Pokemon Stadium. Sorry, they got that. It's called the Nintendo Connectivity. Don't believe me? Google it. Nintendo Connectivity goes all the way back to the Nintendo 64. Then they improved on the connectivity with Pokemon Stadium 2. Then they improved on that with Pokemon Coliseum. And then they improved on that. And then when they went to the GameCube, the true connectivity started to take place when you had Zelda, the Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures, where 4 people can play using the Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP or the regular Advance. And you can, when Link goes into a particular dungeon, he appears on your Game Boy in a side game. Right. And then so forth. And then they were supposed to do that connectivity with the Nintendo Wii and the 3DS, but they never followed up with that. And the reason why is because when you look at the Wii and the Wii U, all the Wii U is the Super Nintendo version of the Wii. That's it. It's the Super Nintendo version. That means when you looked at the Super Nintendo, what people don't, if you follow history, when the Super Nintendo launched, its first 2 years, Nintendo was not doing good with Super Nintendo. And then that's when Nintendo was like, okay, let's drop those bombs. And that's when the bombs dropped. They dropped the Zelda. They dropped the Metroid. They just started dropping the F-Zeros. Nintendo just came out just like, bang, bang. It's like Rocky. He was just not trying to, he was on the ropes too long. He just came out and started hate making body shots, bang, and ribs was being broken. It's like, where you get the second win from? And that's what's going to happen with the Nintendo Wii U. Well, exactly. It's the Super Nintendo of this generation.
Let me, you going right where I need you to go. All right. People like to write off Iwata and his success with Nintendo being the president, and with the passing of Yamauchi, I think that's how you say his name, his last name. I want you to show and contrast the difference in how successful Iwata has been, even more so than Yamauchi.
All right, first of all, when Iwata-san took over, Iwata-san, under his tenure, has sold more handheld games. Nothing against Yamauchi. Please, this is nothing against him. But it was a different time in the industry and whatnot. He has sold more consoles and more handhelds and more games than during Yamauchi's time. Nintendo has never sold 100 million consoles ever in their life. He done it with Iwata-san came in and did it with the Wii. The 3DS is still the number one selling video game system in the industry. Period. And remember, the 3DS started off slow. Remember? Oh, the 3DS is not picking up steam. Like, I was there at the launch. It was like, it wasn't a lot of people out there. Not a lot of people. It was like 500 people out there. What are you people talking about? And for a year, remember the bad news the press was hitting Nintendo with, oh, the Nintendo 3DS is not selling. Now the 3DS is bodying everyone. Oh, and just to let you guys know, Attack on Titans is being made for the 3DS. So, yeah.
Yes, I've seen that.
So, yeah. So when these guys say these little stupid things, I laugh. When you go to Comic-Con, when you go to E3, when you go to PAX, when you go to CES, when you go to Tokyo Game Show, when you go to Pokemon World Championships, EVO World Championships, MLG World Championships, StarCraft World Championships, League of Legends World Championships, what is every single person carrying? A 3DS. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I've been everywhere. Every facet of gaming. I know cosplayers that have 3DSs. Are you kidding me? I know they're not trying to bring up. Listen, the Vita's a nice system. Something, I guess, someone who's more into multimedia wants to use. If they want to add, they should add a Facebook application to their Vita. Oh, that's right. The 3DS allows you to go online and check your Facebook and Twitter. When I stood on the line waiting for the Nintendo Wii U, the Nintendo store had Wi-Fi, so I was on my 3DS on Twitter, tweeting. These guys are talking about they're coming up with concepts. I would love to sit down in a room with nothing but Sony and Microsoft fans. And I would say, I give you guys the first hour. You're going to need it. And I wouldn't say nothing for a whole hour. I let them say everything they got to say. Because when it's my turn to speak, they are in trouble. Because they're not going to be able to refute anything. This is why Nintendo... I'll tell you why Nintendo stays their secret ways. I used to wonder, come on, Nintendo. Why don't you let everyone know? So, for all you Nintendo fans out there listening to Level Live podcast... Nintendo, because the industry is biased against them, and this is not me speaking from Nintendo, this is my opinion and my opinion only, based on my observation of the industry. Nintendo, it is in their best interest to remain private and closed to the public until you're on a need-to-know basis. And the reason why is because every time Nintendo becomes transparent to the industry, everyone jacks their ideals. It's like they're like, yo, we can't say nothing, because if we say something, these billion-dollar companies go, oh, we got the new Intel on Nintendo. And they go, oh, how much you need? I need $100 million. We need to get this out in 2 months because E3 is there. And when Nintendo's going to E3, like, all right, no one knows what we're going to get. We're going to unveil it. And when they unveil it, the other company unveils their own thing, which is a copy. Nintendo's like, how do you do that? How did you get the turnaround cost? Oh, we borrowed from our parent company. Oh, that's that sucker stuff. or you want to go borrow from daddy. We don't have a daddy to borrow from. We have to do this from our own hands, from the ground up. You just go borrow from daddy and just copy our ideal. So Nintendo's like, all right, no problem. That's going to be the case. And then the sad part is when these guys go to E3, the media goes to E3. The media's job is to go to E3, go to everyone's booth and panels, find out what they have to offer, and report it. Right? You have an editor here and there who let the big guys make the arguments, because that's gimmicks. That's how they keep their readers entertained. They make this console war, the greatest stupidity ever known, sold to gamers year in and year out. After 10 years of the console war, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Am I getting paid to rep any of these companies? Like, the way consoles war are, after E3, it's like someone won the Super Bowl. That's literally what it is. Oh, Microsoft put a foot in their mouth. Sony, touchdown! You know what they need to do? At E3, they need to create a console war trophy. And after E3, present it to the winner. Because this is what it's like. You have got Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo fanboys. These guys are on threads arguing like they work for the company, like they are check. Like their children are eating food because this company is paying them. Now, just to let you know, I do think Sony and Microsoft pay certain people, because some of these information these people be knowing, like, they be asking, do you work for this company? No, I'm inside source. You're right. You got an inside check. That's what you got. You got a check coming from somebody, because, like, how you know, like, there's things about Nintendo I don't know. And I work closely with Nintendo, but, like, they're not going to give me information. They're like, nah, we don't want to leak our stuff. We keep our stuff private. That's why this year at E3, Nintendo had a closed private media session to showcase their games. They only wanted to invite their fans that cater to their games, which makes sense. Why invite media that's just going to come and scrutinize your games? You have media that's like, I'm going to the Nintendo section. Why? I'm going to cover what type of nonsense they're going to have this year so we can laugh at them. That's their only intention. They're not going in there to be fair. Like a journalist, you're supposed to go in there, you're supposed to be neutral. You're there to get the information, cover it, give it back to the demographic that's reading it, get their opinions on it and whatnot. And then after everyone's given their opinion, if needed, write an editorial where you give your opinion. No, they go there, get the information. They don't care about anyone's opinion. They just trash it instantly. So Nintendo was like, all right, we're not going to do this. Does everyone have a Nintendo 3DS? Does everyone have a Nintendo Wii U? Yes. We have something called Nintendo Direct. You can turn on because you're a Nintendo fan, you have this already. For those who can't come to E3, you can watch it on Nintendo Direct. And for all our loyal supporters and fans of Nintendo, we invite you to E3. Give us tickets and everything, and we go in there and we watch it. Yo, name another gaming company that does that.
Right.
Name another gaming company that does that. No one does that. That's why there's no long lines. When the PS3 first came out, the people in Connecticut, a guy got shot. Why are you shooting someone for a PS3? Like, really? And someone asked me, Triforce, what's your oh, you don't remember that? Launch date for the PS3. Guy got shot for his PS3.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sony tried to turn that as a positive thing. Like, no. I understand trying to say people want your system so much they're willing to kill, but that's not something you promote. You don't condone that. And the sad part is everyone ate it up. And I was like, that's sad. I was like, well, as you can see, Nintendo took up Times Square. They bodied Times Square. There's like 10,000 people out there in that night for the regular Wii when it first came out. I was like, and we're all standing in line. Nobody's killing anybody for a Nintendo Wii. We're all gonna get it. They made enough. But I guess, yeah, so we got to be careful. So everyone who's going out there to pick up your PS4, I'd advise you guys to invest in a bulletproof vest. I'm just, hey, listen.
That's legit, man. That's legit. That's real talk. Well, we getting down to, I got two more things, and if Live got something he want to ask you, you know, just feel free, Live. But I want to ask you about Reggie. Because people say the same thing about Reggie that they say about Iwata, that it's time for Reggie to leave. And then we want to jump on this NES club. So break that down with Reggie. Touch on that a little bit, and then jump into the NES club.
All right. First of all, Reggie, the man, the myth, the legend, right? Actually, he's not even a myth. He is a legend, though. I don't know what these guys. Reggie is the only president that engages with the gamers directly. These guys want to question a man that goes on Jimmy Fallon's show to showcase the Nintendo Wii for everyone to enjoy and play games. He goes on Nintendo Direct. He goes to his own launch parties. He plays games with his own gamers. Like this, when my mother passed last year, Reggie sent me a condolence card. And they're going to question this guy to step down? This is a president for the gamers. I know they're not talking, because outside of the bureaucratic nonsense that I see these idiots talking about online and going to they don't do anything for the gamers other than create a system and sell it so that they can enlarge their bank account. Mm-hmm. And that is the purpose of their business. So Reggie could do what they do, but he doesn't. He does a little bit more. He gives back to the people. So I just don't understand these guys. I really don't.
What's up, people? This is Leveled Head. Now, at this point in the recording, something went wrong. If you was listening clearly in the background, you hear the ringing or the telephone of Skype, if you're familiar with the Skype telephone. Some reason live fell out and was dropped out of the call, and then the recording just stopped for whatever reason. So we lost about 20 to 25 minutes of Triforce and his what he was saying. So at this point, what I had to do is I had to edit, and we restarted, and I'm bringing it in where the recording started back at. So he's talking about Smash Bros at Evo 2013. Keep listening, like, subscribe, follow, all that. This is your boy Deuces. Triforce finna talk now. Let's go.
Super Smash Bros. Melee is 10 years old. It came out on the GameCube. It had 700 people. It was the third most popular game at Evo. A 10-year-old Nintendo game. The other two numbers, Marvel at 1,200 and Street Fighter at 1,600. But Smash Brothers, which is 10 years old, had 700. Injustice was behind it with about 600, I think. No, 5? Yeah, I think it was 5. Yeah. I just thought they were behind it. But it was impressive to see the following for the Smash Brothers. When they released the next Smash Brothers for the Wii U, oh man, they got Mega Man in the game. Nintendo should really be a gimmick. Nintendo should say, okay, you guys want a gimmick? You want to see a real gimmick? We're going to start doing downloadable characters. Which one of you third-party people want to put one of your mascots in our game? Free. And then sell the mascots on top of it. Like, they really want to... If Nintendo was to behave like these guys, it's, oh, man, listen. Nintendo's doing them a favor by playing fair.
Well, I think we done got it in for a good minute. So, is there anything live you got to say before we bring it to a close?
I mean, I'm just glad Triforce came on, man, and dropped them bombs, dropped that knowledge. I enjoyed the whole podcast. I hope he can be able to come on again, because hey, man, I'm telling you, he has really dropped some bombs today, man.
Well, is there anything else you want to add, Triman? Let them know where they can find you at, your Twitter, your Facebook, all the different places that you able to, you interact with the public. Let them know where you at.
Well, if anybody wants to follow me, you guys can check out my Twitter. It's you can just put it EMP_Triforce_GM. That's my Twitter. You guys can find me on Twitter by just putting Isaiah Triforce Johnson. I'm the only one on Twitter. Certified. No, not Twitter. Facebook. I'm sorry. You can put Isaiah Triforce Johnson on Facebook, and the only person certified under that name. So I'm just gonna pop up, and then you guys can just follow my Facebook page and my Twitter. Mainly my Twitter. I'm maxed out on my Facebook at 5,000 already.
Okay.
So that's it.
Well, man, look, we really appreciate you coming and spending this time with us on this podcast, man. It was very informative. I'm still dumbfounded. I'm dumbfounded from last night. The little bit we talked, and just listening to you, man. We gonna try to keep you as a person that we every now and again pull on the show, man, and get your thoughts on different things, any turns and twists in the industry, man. We'd love to be able to call up on you and get your thoughts on that in the future. So if you're cool with that. All right. Well,
next time you bring on someone who's a Sony enthusiast or a Microsoft enthusiast that wants to bash Nintendo, just bring me on.
Okay. Well, you know what? I can get Hip Hop Gamer back if you want to have that come out, because I want him to hear you. I would love for you and him.
It's not just him. Anybody. You can bring 4, 5, 6 of them all at a time. It actually doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, they're going to have to fess up to the truth. They're going to have to face that fact, and I guarantee you, I'm calling it a landslide victory. They're going to say, "Well, yeah, you're right. You're right." They can't deny it. You know what's so funny? Those guys were all once Nintendo fans themselves.
Right.
So,
right.
That's like, how you deny that? So, yeah.
Okay, well, this has been, the Live and Level podcast. Live, you got something you want to say?
Nah, not that, man. I'm like I said, my jaw is still dropped to the floor, man.
Well, you should tweet it
this
out,
was
man.
a great podcast, man.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool, man. I really enjoyed myself. But we gonna go ahead and sign out, people. Like, subscribe, and follow. Send this to your friends. Retweet this. Have your friends retweet this. This was Triforce Johnson with your boy Leveled Head and your boy Mr. L Live 08. We signing out. Deuces.
Peace.
Mr. L Live and that boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Mr. L Live and that boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Mr. L Live, Mr. L Live, and that Mr. L Live, and that boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Boy Leveled. Mr. L Live, and that boy Leveled.